that I introduced on several videos on this channel. This video goes through the 13 building blocks of the intervention generation canvas. Hello and welcome to DevTV. At DevTV, we profile ideas, innovations, and individuals doing amazing things in economic development. My name is Al Habib. I introduce intervention generation canvas in my last two broadcasts, and the intention really is to present a new way of presenting an intervention in economic development. The idea really is that so we can communicate better and be a lot more creative in the way we design intervention in economic development. This video specifically is just going to run through each of the 13 building blocks, but it will be a rapid run through describing each of the building blocks, and hopefully sometime in the future, I'll take each of the on them, explaining exactly what they are and exactly how to use them. So the first of this then is the constraints and the root causes. So we all do this already in designing intervention. We find out what the constraint of the constraint is, whether income growth or employment, whatever it is. And then we find the root causes to those constraints. And because it's the root causes, we design interventions to resolve. Because if we resolve those root causes, and hopefully the constraint will be resolved as well. So the second building block then is the beneficiary profile. You are designing an intervention for a particular type of, a particular group of beneficiaries. So you need to be very clear what pain you're relieving with your intervention, what gain potentially can they get from your intervention. You need to present this very clearly in the canvas. So if you have the constraint and root causes, and then you present exactly what your beneficiaries will gain and what pain will be relieved for your beneficiaries, you can see the relationship very clearly in one class. The third proposition is because we need to get them for the project, partner, and beneficiaries. The project requires a value proposition because you need to convince your colleague, the donor, that this is an effective intervention that will lead to the primary objective or impact level that the project seeks to achieve. So you have to present a value proposition to them. Value proposition to your partner. You need to fully understand exactly what it is that you are trying to facilitate as far as the partner is concerned, what sort of behavioral change, but you need to present this in a value form. Same thing with the beneficiaries. You need to present the beneficiaries with a value proposition so they can be clear what your intervention is, and how it will benefit them. Validation. Whatever your value proposition is, whatever it is that you think your value proposition is, even if you're co-creating, that's a term that's used commonly in economic development, even if you're co-creating your intervention with a partner, you still need to realize that all of that inside your office, your partner's office, or some joint conference that you're doing, it's still full of assumptions. And these assumptions need to be validated, they need to be validated. And you have to put in the intervention canvas exactly what activities you would do that relates with each of the value propositions that you're presenting and how this is going to be validated. So it's clear to anybody that's looking at this canvas how it is that you are going to do this. Expected behavioral change. Market system is about behavioral change. You're trying to change the partner to be inclusive of your beneficiary. You're trying to change the behavior of the beneficiaries, whether to invest a bit more money, whether to do some sort of action, whatever it is that you're trying to do, you have to really outline all of this. You have to be clear what the behavioral changes are at the different level and how that will benefit each of them. You need to put that on the canvas so it is clear to everybody looking at the canvas. As a matter of fact, it will help you to be very clear exactly what your mission is. This channel that incentives is not enough. When we say value proposition, we say, okay, it's good for the partner it's good for the partner will increase some level of revenue, see our beneficiaries as market. Those are really logical, rational incentives that people should really, that should trigger a behavioral change in partners and beneficiaries. But as we all know, and as I've explained in some of the videos in this channel, we're human, we're irrational, we often do things that are not particularly good for us, and we don't do things that we know for sure will result to good things for us. So we need to identify those irrationalities and then find a trigger that potentially can change this irrationality to be rational, or perhaps just nudge your beneficiaries, your partner, to behave in the way you want them to behave. I will most likely do a video on this to explore this even further, because I think this is an important point. Project relationship. What's your relationship with your partner? Is it a sub-grant? Is it a service contract? An MOU where you jointly carry out intervention activities? Some of this I have very strong views on because people have used these tools that are usually very effective. People have used them terribly wrongly in some of the projects that I've seen. So this is probably another area that I will talk about in the future. But you need to be clear about what your relationship with your partners and beneficiaries are and put it in the canvas so you can see how all of this thing fits together. Channel to reach your partner, channel to reach beneficiaries. You have to be very clear and put that up as well. Key activities. So this now is essentially the support services that you need. What are the things that you need to do to make sure that your intervention works? What are the things that you need to do to make sure that the partners get your the value proposition you promised? What is it that the partner needs to do, and what is it that the beneficiaries need to do? What are the things, what are the activities that all of the stakeholders need to carry out so your intervention achieves its objective? Key resources, same thing as, well, it's not the same thing. Essentially, what are the resources that you need to make all of these activities happen, to make this intervention happen? If you put that up, then it's very clear what it is your intervention is trying to achieve. Scale agent, you need to know from the get-go who potentially can be your scale agent. As a matter of fact, what might not be a bad idea is to begin to flirt with this scale agents or scale channel. I have something now I call scale systems, right? So we often use scale agents sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't particularly work. But there's a scale system that you can build in an intervention to make it a bit more effective. Cost structure. All of those things that I've talked about attracts cost. It's important for you to put in the canvas exactly how much it will cost, so your project manager, your project leader, and your colleagues can be very clear on the cost level, and your partners can be clear exactly what this is costing. And the last, but not the least, probably the most important, milestones, indicators, and measurement plan. This is what you get to do with the M&E team. And there's nothing more important in my view than what you do with the M&E team. So we already do this in results chain, but if you put all of this in intervention canvas, then you have a good intervention. So that's the intervention canvas. Those are the 13 building blocks of the intervention canvas. I'm likely to do a video